Hello everybody! This video is going to showcase how to unlock the No Bad Wolf achievement in Legends of Kingdom Rush. So to unlock this achievement, you have to save both villagers from winter wolves in a specific winter wolf combat encounter in Stormcloud's Winter. So in order to save them, you just have to win the combat encounter with both villagers still alive. So let's go over the party that I'm going to be using in order to win this achievement. Since the only enemies in this specific combat encounter are winter wolves, I need to pick units that are especially effective at fighting those enemies. So I'm not going to be using any melee units because their attacks can be dodged by the winter wolves. Instead, I want to pick ranged units who are good at killing these winter wolves while also being good at stalling them. So that means that rather than using Azra or Bruxa, both of which do not deal enough damage, even at level 2, to one-shot winter wolves reliably, I'm going to be using Olok. This is because even at level 1, he has his Seal of Immolation ability, which can stun the winter wolves and deal some fire damage to them, so that way they can be softened up to actually be insta-killed. Now, the problem with his base attack is that even at level 2, it's only going to deal 5 damage instead of 6, so it's not going to reliably one-shot them, but thanks to this, he can get them down to critical HP, and on top of that, when he does get to level 2, this will deal 6 damage, and so Magma Eruption will be able to reliably insta-kill them, as well as dealing extra damage to the adjacent winter wolves, which will put them at 5 HP, and therefore allow him to one-shot them with the level 2 Abyssal Blast. And on top of that, even if he's at level 1, he can still benefit from the minimum damage of Precise Shot from the Ranger to deal a total of 6 damage, and so they can two-shot them in a single turn just like that. But if the Ranger needs to one-shot a winter wolf on his own, then if he combines Keen Focus by waiting one turn with his Poison Arrow ability, he can deal a total of 6 damage all at once, which will one-shot them. And on top of that, if you have the turns to spare, his poison duration will last long enough for him to eventually kill a single winter wolf with just hitting them with the Poison Arrow. Now, one other unit that is mostly helpful when you get them to level 2 is the Arcane Wizard, because Arcane Ray does deal 6 damage at max range, and so he's a priority to get to level 2, as is Olok. But since Olok gains extra range when you level him up to level 2, it's a higher priority to get him to level 2 first, then the Arcane Wizard. Now, because of the fact that you're going to be prioritizing going to every single combat encounter with the winter wolf on it, chances are that you can run into the winter wolves when all of your units are still at level 1. And so I'm going to be showcasing how to beat that combat encounter with all of your units at level 1. But you can assume that when you have your units at a higher level, you can use similar tactics or come up with your own tactics with these units that are particularly effective against the winter wolves. So, first things first, I'm going to be showcasing how to get through Stormcloud's Winter with these units. I get lucky with my map because I start off with 2 winter wolf combat encounters, so I can actually prioritize going to these ones instead of having to avoid them like the plague like I normally would if I was using any melee units. Now, this is not the combat encounter that I'm looking for, but it's a pretty easy one because there were only 3 winter wolves here, when it could have been a lot worse and I could have gotten some trolls along with them. Now, instead of using Keen Focus to increase the Ranger's poison arrow damage and one-shot this winter wolf, instead, I take notice of the fact that these winter wolves are not close enough to get into melee range in their next turn, and so I'm just going to attack that one normally to deal some damage to him. And I should have done the same thing with the Arcane Wizard, but I wanted to be fancy and try to see if I could trigger that pot to explode instead. But the main strategy here is to use this seal so that way all of these enemies are stunned, and therefore none of the ones that are in melee range can actually attack yet. So their turn is going to come by, and they're not going to be able to get close enough to attack Olok, so I can just safely continue to attack them. And since I attacked that one normally on my first turn instead of waiting to upgrade his damage with Keen Focus, I'm still able to one-shot him on this turn. So now, I moved the Arcane Wizard back into range, and this is what I mean about how it was unnecessary because I could have just kept him there and he could have finished off that winter wolf normally, but it doesn't matter because I'm finishing all of them off and none of my units have taken damage which is very important because I want all of them to be in good health when I start the next combat encounter, because for all I know, I'm going to have to do some tanking with my units, despite the fact that they're all fragile. That's also why when I have the opportunity to get 2 healing potions, I take it. And even though I don't use it here, it's better to have the tent in case I want it for invigoration. So lucky for me, I get the combat encounter that I'm looking for really early. Now, in some ways this is actually really unlucky because none of my units are high enough level to actually get what I want at the moment, but that's fine. So what I'm going to do here is shoot this Winter Wolf right away and deal some damage to him. My minimum damage is 3 with the Ranger, and so what I want to do is get the Winter Wolf at low enough HP, which is at least 3, so that way Olaf can finish it off with his attack here. And that's what I end up doing. Now, the Winter Wolves that are on their way here, they are 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away, which means that they're not going to be able to get in range attack because they only have 3 movement. And so, I'm free to use my magic missiles on these enemies. Now, I get as unlucky as possible because I deal 1 damage to each of them, which is not that good, but it is still an opportunity for the Ranger to be able to hurt them slightly. So, what I'm going to do is shoot this one right here and deal 4 damage to him. That's fine with me. And then move the Ranger back so that way he's in safety. Now what I'm going to do is move this villager up here and try to attack this wolf, and luckily I am able to kill it. Now I'm going to move this villager back over here and just keep her there so she's safe. Then finally, I'm going to stun these 2 Winter Wolves by lighting them on fire, and I'm going to move the Arcane Wizard back by 1 so that he can attack him. Now, what's going to happen here is that this Winter Wolf will either pursue Olaf or pursue the villager, but either way, he's not going to be able to deal a sufficient amount of damage to actually finish off the villager, so I'm safe here. Some damage has to be taken because of the way this party is set up, but it's fine. And so since Olaf's the one that gets damaged, my villagers are as safe as possible. Now these Winter Wolves are getting free of their stun effect, so I'm in danger once more. So what I'm going to do is root this Winter Wolf by shooting him with the poison arrow, so that's all good. Then I'm just going to move him down here so he's out of range. Now I'm going to move this villager down here to try to attack this Winter Wolf, and I do get lucky and I manage to kill him. Now if you don't get lucky and he dodges the attack instead, it's fine because he will attack the villager, but yet again, because he does not deal enough damage to one-shot the villager, you are safe. So now what I can do is attack this Winter Wolf here, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Now, he gets knocked back a little bit, but it doesn't really matter because he can still get in range to attack the Arcane Wizard, but he takes damage over time and dies, and this Winter Wolf takes damage over time and dies as well, and so we're all safe, even at the minimum possible level. So, some sacrifices to HP had to be made, but it's fine because the main goal here was to get the achievement, and since I did, I don't have to care about anything else. Have a good day, everybody.